And, you know, because of the economy, have you seen an increase in the number of like financial crime type cases that your office has been investigating?
The thing I thought that would go up a lot would be the burglaries and the robberies. And at the end of October, we were up 0.4% in burglaries. So I've actually am surprised that we haven't seen more of this. I'm concerned about the unemployment rate in Chicago, which has gone up, although perhaps some of the people committing crimes really weren't working before. So maybe that's, although it's a concern, maybe it doesn't affect our criminals as much as I would have suspected. But I think we have to be aware of that. Everybody's trying to look at ways, not everybody, but the criminals are constantly trying to look at ways to make money. You know, that's what they do. And ATM thefts, getting PIN numbers off of people's debit card, you know, I've seen more of that across the United States where that's going up. Some ingenious schemes. And then you just have the burglaries and the robberies. We had one of our deputy superintendents that was burglarized the other night. And I think it's part of the times we're facing until the economy gets strong again.
It's unfortunate, and I know in the state's attorney's office we have seen an increase in the number of mortgage fraud cases,
right.
Particularly against senior citizens.
Right.
And I'm hoping that the economy starts turning around and we'll see a little decrease.
Right.
When Mayor Daley appointed you as superintendent, he said that you were uniquely qualified to implement strategies in our fight against crimes and assure the conduct of our officers. So what have you done taking office to effectuate all of these promises? And that's a quote from the mayor.
Well, I think one of my strengths is kind of my diversity that I've had in the FBI. I either investigated or oversaw every program in the FBI throughout my 20+ years. So I got to see gang investigations in Los Angeles. We got to see some of our, you know, Hobbs Act and some other techniques we used in Philadelphia. I worked a lot of kidnapping cases and bank robberies and violent crimes in Houston. We had kind of a unique instance for federal investigators working crime and Indian investigation, which was very, very similar to what police officers face every day. So I think that kind of gave me a strong criminal background, if you would. And then through my management assignments, I was personnel officer for the FBI, an organization global, 31,000 agents. And then also I was in charge of our version of internal affairs, Office of Professional Responsibility. So I thought I had a pretty diverse background. One of the things that I implemented right away was forming a new bureau, a Bureau of Professional Standards. It was somewhat disjointed. We had training in one position, then we had internal affairs under another individual, and we had our auditor programs over here. So what we tried to do is combine auditing with training and with internal affairs. So if we see trends developing where officers might be getting into trouble, we could then develop a training program to adjust that, because 99% of the time officers make mistakes. It's performance-based. They either forgot something, they forgot some different techniques, they haven't been trained up. The number of misconduct cases that are purely based upon malfeasance is relatively low, but it does get to an area where it might be nonfeasance or misfeasance, and I think it's important for us to try to address that and get better training to our officers, which we've done that. So that was one of the first steps we did. We put that in place. We developed core values, which hadn't been in place for a while. We tried to really focus on DUIs. We've always had a rash of those in the Chicago Police Department, even when I was here from 2000 to 2003. And I was very pleased last year, from Thanksgiving through the end of January, not one of our officers or our employees were arrested for DUI. Unfortunately, that did not hold out for the rest of the year, but I think over the holiday season, it's starting to make an impact. And we've really encouraged guys to take care of each other, you know, look out for each other. You know, you're a partner on your watch, how about also being a partner off duty? So we've tried to implement those times of higher accountability. In terms of the crime fighting thing, one of the things that I thought would be a good target was to take a three-pronged approach to our biggest problem, which is gangs. So we reinstituted one of the citywide units. It's the old SOS. We brought it back. It was leaner, meaner, much more training, much higher degree of accountability. Every 8-man team has a sergeant rather than one sergeant in charge of like 100. So we formed the mobile strike force. We combined that with the targeted response unit, and then we pulled gangs out of the various districts and put them under one commander. So here's our approach. We use the specialized unit, like the targeted response unit and the mobile strike force, to harden up the areas where gangs tend to hang out. We focus on parks, we focus on roads, any place where we know the gangs may be either traveling to or from, where they may associate, where they may congregate, to try and make it a little uncomfortable for them to engage in their gang banging activities. And that's what that group of folks focus on. Our gang enforcement unit, they go after the shooters. They go after the worst of the worst, and they travel all throughout the city. If we have something that flares up down in Area 2, down on the south side, we have up to 400 officers we can move immediately down there to address it. But their focus to go after the worst of the worst, primarily the shooters, and to get them off the street. And then our last prong was to try and gain the confidence and trust of the local population by using our district law, and really try to get to the point where it's important to build that trust with the community. A police department can only do what the citizens allow them to do. If we want to be very aggressive, if the community won't allow us to be aggressive, we can't be aggressive. So we have to build that trust and confidence with the community so that they'll allow us to be aggressive, knowing that sometimes we may pick up the wrong person. But we're trying to make a difference. We're trying to bring peace to the streets, and we want to be as aggressive as the community will allow us to do that. But to do that, we have to make sure they have trust and confidence. And we think our beat officers who are out there every day, dropping into a business, going to a church, stopping someone who might be, raking their yard, they'll see our officers in a different light. We've tried to emphasize foot patrols and bike patrols, where people get more of that face-to-face interaction with a police officer, all going to try and build that community trust that all of us need. Because if people are willing to pick up the phone and call us, it makes our job so much easier.
Absolutely.
We respond much quicker when we're pointed in the right direction rather than just trying to find it off a compass.
Absolutely. And being the superintendent of the Chicago Police Department is a 24/7 job. It's a stressful job. What do you do to unwind?
It is a stressful job, but it's really no harder than other jobs I've had throughout my life. I mean, my wife always looks at me like I'm crazy when I say that, but the FBI was a global organization, and we would have to tie cases together that might be going on in Yemen or somewhere else with what's going on in Philadelphia. It also has ties to Los Angeles, and with a great deal of oversight from headquarters. That was very challenging, and also we were in a totally preventive mode. So here, although it's a huge organization, you can kind of get your arms around it because it's just within the city of Chicago. To unwind, I tend to work out. I try to get in like about 6 o'clock in the morning. I try to give myself 1 hour, like maybe 6 to 7, and I think that's important. It lets you decompress. Sometimes I have some of my best ideas when I'm working out. So I think that's important for everybody. I've tried to encourage that for the entire department, is give yourself an hour a day. I think the NFL has actually picked up on that, and they're asking kids to 60 minutes a day. And I hope our officers take advantage of that, because their jobs are so stressful. They're going from 0 to 100 instantaneously, and I don't care what shape you're in, that will take its toll on our men and women. And it's so important for them to decompress and be able to have the opportunity to spend time with their families. We push them a lot, and we demand a lot from them, but we also have to remember that our people are our greatest asset, and we have to make sure we take care of them.
Thank you, Mr. Weis, for joining us here today. I'm Anita Alvarez, and thank you for watching the Chicago Bar Association's Justice and Law Weekly.